Good morning and welcome to Sports Source Daily on a Monday morning. Hope everyone had a really nice weekend. I'm Tommy Christ, glad to be here. Glad to have you there. Looks like I'm flying solo on this Monday morning. May have somebody jump in. Not real sure yet. But again, hope you had a really nice weekend and we are live and in color from Court Street Cafe in Port Allen, where they had a nice weekend with steak night Saturday night and the big brunch yesterday with live music. Connect with Court Street Cafe on Instagram and Facebook. You'll learn all about the lunch specials, dinner specials, drink specials, musical lineup, the whole bit. Court Street Cafe in Port Allen. We'll tell you a whole lot more about them as the show goes along today. As always, we are presented by the LeBares Casino and Hotel in Baton Rouge with the new ESPN Bet Sportsbook. I don't know if you've been betting a lot. I don't know if you're winning or losing. I've had an up and down weekend, hit a few things, missed a few things. Really tough to bet, really tough to predict things. But when you're ready to bet, go to the ESPN Bet Sportsbook in the LeBares Casino and Hotel in Baton Rouge. As we always do, we ask you to like and share this show. That helps everybody involved. All right, backing it up on the weekend, LSU beats South Carolina 36-33. Carolina misses a field goal at the buzzer. You know what? An ugly win is still a win. I sent that text out to a lot of friends, a lot of group text messages that I'm in. An ugly win is still a win. Got to remember that. Hey, Craig Schilling with the comment, morning gent, going singular because don't have anybody in here with me yet, but that's okay. All right, LSU wins the game. Did some good things, did some bad things. Win a game in a tough environment on the road against a South Carolina team that, like a lot of teams in the country, up and down. I mean, how much up and down roller coaster can we get in one year? But it's a win, a conference win on the road. Ugly as it may have been in spots, it's still a win, and LSU found a way to get it done. And that's all you can say. I don't know what else to say. It's an ugly win, but it's still a win. Now, Brian Kelly after the game, and he's not unique to this. Coaches all over the country, when their team loses, I have to coach it better. Why didn't you coach it better during the week leading up to the game? Or during the last 3 weeks now, 3 weeks. Every coach, it's my fault. We got to coach it better. What are your coaching staffs doing? But I think this is all an unintended consequence of the the transfer portal. Nick Saban said it. You better pay the right guys. You better get the right guys. Let's back it up. In the recruiting world, let me see here. We are going to give me 1 second here, folks. I am doing a little something. We're going to try to get Ryan Rance to join us here. All right, sorry about that. In the recruiting world, remember when you used to sign the 25 guys? We had the big signing day, all that stuff. Yeah, there were 3 or 4 guys you knew were going to be really good, really going to play right away. A couple of guys emerged. 7, 8, 9, 10 of them guys of the 25 didn't work out. It's the same parallel here in the transfer portal when you're going to get these guys to come in, even though you got tape, you've seen them play at Duke and Oregon State and wherever else they played, Wisconsin. You got to get them into your system, under your coaching staff, and you're going to miss on some. You're going to miss on some. And that's why I think we have had a lot of up and down in college football this year. I think we can have more as the season goes along. It's kind of like the NFL up and down due to free agency, right? Well, there's free agency in college football now as we speak with this transfer portal. And the NIL is a whole nother separate thing. So it's just kind of wild and crazy. And I think that's why you're seeing so much inconsistency. Northern Illinois beats Notre Dame, and Notre Dame scores 66 points against a Purdue. I mean, it's just it's all over the map. And then LSU, can't run the ball against Nichols, ran the ball a little better. How about Caden Durham? Huh? Why didn't you play him the first 2 weeks? They keep saying you got to coach it better. You should have figured out Durham was your best running back. It took you 3 weeks, better late than never, I guess, but that's it. Now, LSU gets the win. Texas with an impressive win. Georgia sneaks by Kentucky on the road by 1 point, and they tumble to number 2 in one of the polls. LSU is 16 and 16, 16 in the AP poll, 16 in the coaches poll. So, with all that being said, it doesn't matter where you're at today. It's going to matter where you're at in a couple of weeks. And let's see, my phone's blowing up here. right, we got some. Let me see here if I can't apologize for this confusion here. Give me a half a second, please. All right, we're going to try to get Ronnie Rance on here. If you would just bear with me for a second, as we are trying to get this figured out. Apologize for this. All right, we'll see if that works. Again, apologize for some technical issues right there. Again, I mean, the inconsistency, I think it's going to keep going. If you like to bet, you like to go to the ESPN Bet Sportsbook at the LeBares Casino, it's going to be tough. All right, it's going to be hard to find a winner. You're really throwing darts. Even the national experts, the gurus, can't quite get it right each and every time. So, going to have to see that. So, all right. So, LSU, here's the big thing. Well, I'm flying around here. I'm trying to do 9 things. The New Orleans Saints, huh? I did not see that coming. I knew they'd beat Carolina first week, or I thought they would. And then I thought they'd lose the next 4. But they go in there and just destroy Dallas. Game not as close as the score might have indicated, okay? And Saints 44-19 over Dallas. Derek Carr, the offense looks unbelievable. And here's something for you Saints and LSU fans, okay? I'm going to try to pull them together here. LSU, all in the fall camp prior to the first game, offensive line is one of the best in the country. It's going to dominate 3 NFL draft choices. Offensive line, going to be great. That offensive line has been far from great, okay? And on the flip side of that coin, the New Orleans Saints, all we heard in the preseason was how the offensive line was going to be their biggest question mark. Can't get it done. Derek Carr is going to get hurt. Not going to be able to run the ball. How are you going to throw it if you can't run it? And the Saints offensive line has been spectacular through 2 games. So, you know, the offensive line thing, they got it backwards. The media covering the Saints, the media covering LSU. And again, it goes back to what I said about the total inconsistency and the ups and downs that are going on here in college sports and the NFL. It's just what it is now. I guess you just got to get used to it, grin and bear it, and that's what it's going to be. All right. So elsewhere in the NFL, the Saints play the Eagles next week. And the Eagles play tonight. So you Saints fans can get a scouting report on the Eagles as they play the Falcons tonight. They're a 5.5-point favorite. By the way, there's already a line on the Saints and Eagles game next week. Eagles are 2.5-point favorite. That game's in the Superdome. And how about this? LSU, UCLA. The line opened at 18.5, LSU favorite. It's already moved to 23. 23. That's a big jump. A lot of money came flying in on LSU at minus 23.5. All right, well, another note for you. Major League Baseball, Paul Skeens throws tonight in St. Louis against the Cardinals. Skeens is 10-2 with a 2.10 ERA. All right, back through some of these topics here. Again, we're at Court Street Cafe in Port Allen, trying to get Ronnie Rance to join us as we are having a couple of technical issues here. Let me see if I can get this straightened out. Again, we apologize for this. So LSU, an ugly win is still a win, right? That's what they always say. And it was an ugly win. They did a lot of good things, but they gave up too many big plays, and it just was a lot of penalties in the game. That's a whole nother thing. The officiating, the refereeing nationwide. I'm not talking about LSU South Carolina game. 21 penalties in that game. Nationwide, the penalties have issues with the refereeing. You know, there was a roughing the passer call in the Indiana UCLA game that was the worst call I think I've ever seen in my life as far as roughing the passer goes. And I mean, it's just, and I used to say this, I started saying this about 7, 8, 9 years ago in the NFL. Those NFL referees, and some are in better shape than others, they can't keep up with the skill set, the talent on an NFL field. If you've never been on a sideline for an NFL game, some of you watching may have played in the NFL. It happens extremely fast, faster than you ever could imagine. If you have never been on a sideline for an NFL game, you never played in the NFL, you would want to get off the sideline if you were down there. That's how violent it is. That's how fast it is. And I always said the referees have trouble keeping up. They always said they had to put more referees on the field in an NFL game. So to better officiate the game. Like when basketball went from 2 referees to 3, it better officiated the game. Well, now that same thing is happening in college. The referees cannot keep up with the skill set of these talented players nationwide. And I'm not just talking about SEC, Big Ten. I'm talking about nationwide. The talent level, the skill sets, these refs just can't, they're not full time refs. They got other jobs. They just can't keep up. They can't get all of that going with the people that are on the field. And that leads to missed calls. And then it leads to replay review. And some of the reviews get it right. Some of them may leave you shaking your head, but that's in all sports. So we'll see if that's going to be another reason why it's hard to bet. When you go to that ESPN Bet Sportsbook in the L'Auberge Casino and Hotel Baton Rouge, it may be harder to find a winner. My suggestion would be, and I'm no professional gambler, far from it. We talk a lot about it here on Sports Shorts Daily. We talk a lot about it on Sports Shorts Radio. I would lower your wager amount for a couple of weeks just to see if you can start getting some value and figuring something out. If you normally bet $100 or $200 a game, you might want to bet 20 or 30 bucks a game. If you normally bet 10, 20 bucks a game, bet 5 or 10. Just put it in place until you can get a better read on some of these teams in the NFL and in college football. Because 2 weeks into the NFL, 3 weeks into college football, there's a lot of head scratching and a lot of like, wow, we didn't see that coming. I mean, not one professional on TV, not one person picked the Saints over the Cowboys on all of the networks, all of the TV gurus, all of the writers. A few of them picked the Saints plus the points, but nobody picked them straight up to win. And then the Saints just totally dominated Dallas. I mean, I misread. When they beat Carolina and Carolina lost again big to the Chargers. Hey, I'm in that USA Today survivor pool. I've won my first 2 weeks. I had the Saints beating the Panthers. I had the Chargers beating the Panthers. Panthers are the worst team in the NFL. There's no question about it. So, but nobody, when the Saints beat the Panthers, I'm like, hey, it's a whole different world playing Dallas. Just like when the LSU beat Nichols, a whole different world playing South Carolina. Well, it just boils down to the fact that we can't, it's very hard to predict. That's why they call it gambling. When you gamble, you might win, you might lose. That's the way it goes. That's all part of it. No question about that in the gambling end of things. So we got to go forward now. LSU plays UCLA. UCLA got beat bad by Indiana. And again, when the LSU line came out that they were favored 18.5, a lot of people went, what? 18.5? This is not the same UCLA that beat LSU a couple of years ago when Ed Orgeron had the sissy blue shirt comment. This UCLA team is really struggling. They are not going to do well in the Big Ten at all. And LSU is now a 23-point favorite. Over and under is 56.5. So they don't think UCLA can score. And that's LSU's defense out there, right? If I knew the answer, I'd certainly tell you. I'd certainly express it to you if I knew the answer. But I do not know the answer. But the LSU will be at home. It'll be a 2:45 kick, 2:30. And with that being said, let me remind you about we got to move the clock again on Sports Shorts Radio. This Saturday, Sports Shorts Radio will go 12:30 to 2:30 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We'll be live at the Walk-Ons in Brewley. And you'll be able to listen on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge this Saturday, 12:30 to 2:30, taking you basically right up to kickoff with LSU UCLA. So please make that note. And of course, we'll remind you that later in the week when we're doing Sports Shorts Daily. And by the way, Sports Shorts Daily later this week will be Wednesday and Thursday. It won't be a Friday edition of Sports Shorts Daily. It'll be Wednesday and Thursday this week from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. Speaking of Tremonti's Meat and Seafood, wanted to give this shout out again. We talked about it last week. Here at Court Street Cafe, I got a very big thing on Saturday nights where it's steak night, filet or rib. Those steaks now coming from Tremonti's Meat and Seafood. All right, Ronnie Rance, I know you're busy traveling. How are you this morning?
Doing good. Here at the DFW, about to jump on the plane and head back. I mean, what a weekend! What a weekend for the Saints, for the Tigers. The Tigers survived in advance, Tommy. I mean, they don't get any style point. I guess the positive in it today is that they played as bad as they possibly could and still won the game, right? So something to be said for that. Down 17-0 and to come back and win the game when they had really no business winning the game. Played early and a lot of different, but they figured out a way. And so hopefully if they minimize mistakes and turnovers and penalties and all the things that they've been doing for 3 weeks, they'll figure it out. But let's get to the Hootats. They do in point differential with their opponents through the first 2 weeks of the season. That's like number one in the league by like 40 points. It's unbelievable what they're doing right now. And let me tell you something. The Houdat Nation was in full effect yesterday at the game. I would say 25% of the crowd was Saints fans, and they sounded like they were 75% of the fans, 75% most of the day because of the dominant win. But at least percent black, touch more.
You're breaking up really bad, Ronnie. I don't know if you can hear me. I know we're dependent on the connection there in the airport, but it's very difficult to hear you. I can see you, but you're frozen. So I don't know if you want to jump off and jump back on. Again, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Yeah, that's a little better. Yeah, a little better right there. Yeah, no, I watched every snap of the Saints game. Total domination, averaging 45 points a game, 15 consecutive possessions. Saints ended up with a score. Man, they were impressive. How many Saints fans were at the game? Did they make a difference?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Is that at 25% of the fans for sure were Saints fans. 25%, if not more. It definitely felt like more because of the dominant win. Shaq was in the house. He was there. He was about 12 rows behind us in a suite. So he lives in the Dallas area, by the way. Got that information from Mike Neal, a guy you know. Mike Neal watched the LSU game with Mike at an LSU alumni event in North Dallas. Mike Neal, former captain of the '93 national championship team, my roommate for 3 years in college. He lives in the Dallas area, and we met up with him. But he was telling me that Shaq moved to his part of town, like kind of near his neighborhood, and that Shaq's been showing up at Walmart and Home Depot and all those places freaking out everybody. But he was at the game last night.
No state income tax. When you make Shaq's money, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, for you and I don't matter, but for him,
yeah. Me and you can move to we can stay in Louisiana, but if we make Shaq money, we move in Sports Shorts Daily and Sports Shorts Radio, either Texas or Florida, one of the two.
Listen, I don't know what's going on with the new coordinator and everything, but the play calling is amazing. Carr looks confident. The offensive line, the biggest surprise, Tommy's offensive line. I mean, they are creating running lanes. They're giving the quarterback time to throw the football. I don't know where this came from. I don't know how it happened. It's magic because this offensive line was expected to be one of the worst in the NFL. That's why you and I and we all thought that the over-under 7.5 wins this year, take the under. Didn't expect anything out of the Saints. But because of that offensive line, they have shocked the world, and they've given Kamara the fountain of youth, and then Derek Carr's got plenty of time to throw the football. He's not under duress most of the time, and he's making great choices.
Well, I said this before you jumped on, but let's back it up to before the first game for the Saints and LSU. LSU is supposed to have the offensive line, NFL draft choices, domination, and all of this stuff. It's been far less than that. The Saints were supposed to be not going to block anybody. Derek Carr was going to get hurt. Kamara ain't going to be able to run the ball. It's been the total opposite. So the forecast on the offensive lines, Saints LSU, if we can tie it together, been totally different. And I mean, and the results that we've seen on the field have been amazing. By the way, Las Vegas changed the Saints over and under this morning to 10.5.
Isn't that crazy? I mean,
on the win total, yeah.
I don't think we've ever seen anything like that. I mean, from 7.5 to 10.5 in 2 games, and nobody can explain it. I mean, it's the greatest story right now in the NFL, and it's now set up. This game against the Eagles next week, being. I mean, look, Tommy, hear me out. If the Saints beat the Eagles this week to go 3-0, you're going to start hearing people talk about Saints Super Bowl in New Orleans, like legitimately. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, the Saints, the city of New Orleans has hosted will be 11 Super Bowls, and of course, only one time has a team hosted a Super Bowl, actually played in it, and that was the Rams a couple years ago, and they actually won it. If they beat the Eagles, coach, it's going to be a conversation piece.
Well, the Eagles play the Falcons tonight, so the Saints fans
Right.
can get a scouting report on that. And the Eagles are a 2.5 point favorite against the Saints already. That line's already out there. Now, Ronnie, the other thing we're bouncing all over here. LSU is now a 23-point favorite over UCLA. UCLA got whacked by Indiana, who's a bottom half Big Ten team. 23-point favorite over UCLA. I don't think anybody would have thought that in August.
Right. No, I mean, and what that line went up 4 or 5 points in the last 24 hours.
Yeah.
I think LSU is going to destroy UCLA, but I don't know if we can figure out this LSU team. Yeah, they're going to score a bunch of points, but I mean, they may give up some points. So 23.5 is a big number. I don't care that it's UCLA and they've looked terrible at the beginning of the year. It's a 2:30 game. Do I think LSU is going to win? Yeah, I'm not really worried about them winning. I don't know if I would.
All right, Ronnie jumped away. Again, I'll remind you about Court Street Cafe, breakfast, lunch, dinner, 7 days a week, not Sunday dinner. But check out Court Street Cafe here in Port Allen when you have a chance. They had a big weekend and they're ready for another one this coming weekend.
TK, the other story in the NFL, did you watch the Bengals game?
I did.
I mean, you just cannot give Patrick Mahomes a chance to win a game. He's always going to win the game.
On 4th and 16. 4th and 11, I got a false start or something. 4th and 16, okay? Bengals are in the prevent thing, and you got pass interference. And people who say it's rigged and the NFL wanted Kansas City to win, that call was pass interference, okay?
It was.
No matter
He got
how
there
you
before.
looked at it, and no matter how you looked at it, I don't know how big of a Bengals fan you are, that was pass interference. Well, then Harrison Butker, Ronnie, big topic all weekend in the NFL, too. These field goals have become automatic.
It's
And I think
unbelievable.
no, that's like 33 of 37 from field goals above 50 yards, longer than 50. Okay, Ronnie, as Chris Collinsworth, I'm not wild about him as an announcer, but as he said last night in the broadcast, he said it used to be a question mark. Do you try the 54-yarder or do you punt it and try to knock it out, inside the 10-yard line? That used to be the question mark. Now, I mean, and in fact, they had lined up to try a 71-yard field goal. The Chiefs did, changed their mind, ended up having punted because there were 20-something seconds left, and they thought, well, if you give them the ball right there,
Right.
they get a field goal. And then also, there was a 58-yarder attempted. I mean, these guys, and the other thing, right, these guys are kicking these 53, 55, 57-yard field goals, and they're hitting the net. They're hitting the net behind the uprights. They're not like squeaking over or hitting the crossbar. I mean, it's just unbelievable the legs on these guys.
Yeah. No, it's I don't know what's going on. It's to a point now where yesterday at the beginning of the Texans win over the Bears last night, the Texans get the ball very first drive of the game. They try a 56, 57-yard field goal, which is crazy that you would try that on the first drive of the game because if you miss, you're giving the other team such a full field advantage. They make it. Bears go down, get the ball. They try a 50-something yard field goal. They make it. It's 3-3 on the first drive, and both teams had 50-plus yard field goals. I mean, to your point, Tommy, it's incredible what's happening. By the way, in the Saints win yesterday, the only thing that really wasn't great was the field goal kicking. We had a missed extra point, a couple of bad kickoffs where he didn't put the ball where they wanted it. I saw him getting yelled at by his coaches on the sidelines on a couple of those kickoffs, but that was really the only thing that the Saints did poorly yesterday.
Yeah, it really was. Hey, 2-0. I didn't. I was like a lot of people figured they'd beat Carolina. I had them losing the next 4 games. Well, we'll worry about the Eagles next Sunday, but right now they not only did they beat Dallas, they kicked Dallas's ass. I mean, that was a butt whipping from the opening whistle to the end. The old saying, it wasn't as close as the score might indicate, but the score said 44-19. It wasn't that close, and that's a 25-point difference.
It was. This is 2 weeks in a row now. We've said that the Saints have played about as good a first half of football as you could possibly play. I mean, we didn't give them as much credit because it was the Panthers, and the Panthers, by the way, got killed again this week. But because Dallas on the road and they put up with 35 in the first half, I mean, like, that might be the better one. That might be better than last week. because it
Ronnie,
was.
when he hit Shaheed for the long touchdown, I think that was the second touchdown of the day. I said Dallas is in trouble, and I'm thinking the NFL's in trouble now too because that threat 2 weeks in a row, Shaheed with a 50-something yard touchdown, 75-yard touchdown. The defense has to be aware of that.
Right.
We go back. I'm going too far back here, maybe, but when Breeze's last couple of years, when they knew he could not throw that ball, there's
Right.
no way he could have threw that ball in his last year plus with the Saints. That helps the defense knowing you don't have that. I guarantee it. I mean, the Eagles are worried about the Falcons tonight, and they're going to play that game. They're going to have a short week, and they're going to fly into New Orleans. Their defensive staff will be up late this week trying to make a plan for Derek Carr and the Saints. Have you heard anything further on the Taysom Hill injury?
No, I did not. Matter of fact, I didn't even realize he had one. Obviously watching the game in the stands, it's a little bit different. Where was he banged up?
It said something about an ankle or something. So,
Okay.
but he was, they reported that he wasn't going to return to the game. And of course,
Yeah.
I'm sure that'll come out today. Dennis Allen's going to say, we've got to wait for a report, and
Well,
then the
I'll
Saints
say
will be
this.
off tomorrow.
I'll say this. I mean, like Taysom Hill and on 3 consecutive plays, Tommy, he ran the ball for like a 4 or 5 yard gain. Then on the next play, he was the fullback and made a great block to spring a first down. And on the very next play, he's a tight end, blocking and running into. I mean, like the what he can do, and it's not just a gimmick. Like he is outstanding as a blocker. He's outstanding as a runner. He's very good as a pass catcher. Like it's amazing what he does. And I'll be curious to see if the Saints commit to him, more after the season. I think his contract's up at the end of the season because if Sean Payton's still got a job, which by the way might be questionable, that Sean Payton's going to want him up in Denver. So you're going to have to obviously bid against somebody for his services. But man, he is just unbelievable to watch because of all the things that he does and at such a high level. And we know he can play quarterback if need be.
Well, and as you pointed out last year, it's a fact that when he gets a lot of touches in the game, the Saints do better. They win. And it's all about winning. So that's going to be. So let's hope he's not a severe injury, and we'll learn about that today. If not today, we'll know about it on Wednesday. Ron, I know, again, we're bouncing all over the map, but college football, Billy Napier, rumors he was going to be fired, but now he's going to have his normally scheduled press conference this week. They play Mississippi State, who's terrible, got boat raced by Toledo in Starkville. Toledo had a 30-point lead at halftime in Starkville against Mississippi State. And then I want to go back. Brian Kelly says we got to coach it better. Of course, Napier's saying he's got to coach better. Sean Beamer from Southern Cal, we got to coach better. What have you been doing the last 3 weeks? Well, every week we say, man, we got to coach this better. What have you and the staff been doing? Or are the kids not doing what you're seeing at practice and they're not taking that to the game? A lot of fans frustrated by that. I mean, again, an ugly win is still a win. We get that. And LSU fans are happy that it's a win on the road in a conference game.
I think the Billy Napier situation it's inevitable, Tommy. It's a long season, right? You got 12 games. And, if you kind of like throw the white flag up right now and just go interim and just basically say, all right, we think the season's over, what kind of message does it send to the fans, to the players? I think they just hang on to it a little bit longer. Obviously they're going to get a little juice. They should beat Mississippi State and get a little juice. Obviously, if they lose that game, they may have to but it's inevitable. He had the toughest schedule in America, and unfortunately, they are as bad as we thought they were. The over/under was 4.5 wins for Florida this year, which is just unheard of. And by the way, Florida State and Florida, both of them are winless on the season. Like, it's crazy. What a new world 2024 is.
The Jacksonville Jaguars winless too, and they thought they would be good. So yeah, no, it's a wild and crazy world. It goes back, remember when they used to sign 25 guys? You got to hit on 15 of those. Now with the portal, like Nick Saban said, you better be paying the right guys or you'll be shit out of luck. Well, these portal things aren't always working out. This is nationwide. I'm not just talking about LSU and Florida here. I'm talking about nationwide here. It's just it's causing the roller coaster to make it hard for you to, when you get to that ESPN Bet Sportsbook at LeBear's, it's going to be hard to figure out the winners.
Yeah, look, preseason has become very difficult. Look at the NFL. Nobody in the world thought the same. Everybody thought they figured it out. didn't. So that's the NFL where you have contracts and you know who's on the team and you have precedent. College football, I mean, just a straight crapshoot. I mean, Nick Saban picked Florida State to win the national championship. Obviously, we know Nick Saban knows what he's talking about, but he didn't. He doesn't as an analyst, that's for sure. TK, I'm gonna jump on my plane.
Yeah, I got to get going too here, but don't forget we've already talked to about Coach Street Cafe. We're back Wednesday morning from Tremonti's with another issue of Sports Shows Daily. Hope everyone has a wonderful day. Apologize for all the technical difficulties.